Cheers. Just picked this bottle up today. Took the day off work. I was getting some other groceries for the weekend. I've seen this before. I actually buy on the regular Redwood Empire's Pipe Dream bourbon for typical, old fashions and sipping it on the rocks, whatever. I think that's like a 92 or 94 proof. This is 101 proof. A little more expensive. The other bottle I'm able to get often on sale for $26, $29 a bottle. The regular price is ludicrous. I think some of these places claim it's like 40 something dollars. But on the sale price, $27 to $30 is a great deal. This was like 42 or something. It's definitely nicer for, just sipping it neat like this. 101 proof, I think, is more appropriate for that kind of thing. Not that the other one's bad or anything. It's certainly good enough to sip. But, I guess I feel this would be kind of wasteful to make a cocktail with. But it's nice, has good heat. A little bit more nuanced flavors with the higher proof, which is kind of typical with whiskeys and bourbons. But yeah, I'm enjoying this. So this video is not about this Redwood Empire. I'm going to get this out of the way over here. So a couple things, just weekend video here. A little early weekend for me because I took the day off. This is the remainder of the Nick's collection. A few of you guys following my channel have been asking for like a collection video. I'm kind of against that because my collection isn't a collection, it's just ever evolving. I don't consider it some collection. Certainly there's certain boots that will never go away, but often things get tired and move on, or I realize there's some issue with it, or something else, the next thing, and ever changing. But after buying plenty of Nicks and selling some and buying more and selling other ones and returning some, ready to ship, it's been ups and downs. I'm not sure what the most I ever owned at one time was, but most recently it was as high as 8 boots or 9 boots. It may have got up to 10 at one point, I think, but a lot of you watch my old videos, a lot of those boots, most of those boots I should say, have been sold. This is what remains. And, I'm not going to run through each of them in the video because you've seen videos on them, but I'll just name them off so it's clear. This was maybe not my last purchase, one of them. This is the Natural Dublin that I bought again because I wanted to kind of make my own. And this is what I call the Ultimate Prospector. This over here is my original pair of Nicks, the original Natural Dublin that was ready to ship. You see those ready to ship Prospectors that were or are 64 rough out. Got my 2 Predator boots over there, the Predator orange 9-month wait time built right pair, and the Predator whiskey Thurman 55 packer. And then kind of hidden back here is my Dome Pro 67 in the, I think they stopped carrying it, Wicked and Craig English Bridal Tan. So these are the 6 pairs I have left, and all but one are 67s. Surprise to you guys. That's was my favorite last with them. But I guess kind of came to the realization the price and the wait times and the inconsistencies and issues just isn't worth it to me. So I will not be buying any more. I don't even really, they don't pull on me anymore. I happen to go to their website again. I hadn't been there in a bit, and it was just like looking at the ready to ship and the seconds, and it's just like I just don't want any more of these. So they'll probably stick around, but I could see this pair maybe going away. Maybe even the Thurman 55 Packer. Maybe even the Built Right. If I'm really pushing it. I can't see myself parting with either of these Natural Dublins because I kind of think of it as this is the original and this is the end. And I really love the English Bridal Tan Dome Pro 67. But yeah, that's kind of it. I was listening. This is kind of a total context change, and it's just more boot talk. Maybe that's what I'll call this video, boot talk. Friday boot talk. I was listening to a Stitch Down podcast from November 2024 with Brett Viberg, and it was kind of interesting. I still disagree with where they're going and don't like their crazy pricing and their kind of boutique, what did I say, affluent douchebag model. But it was interesting to hear his side of why they're making loafers, $1,000 or $1,100 loafers, and he didn't really mention sneakers, but they make leather sneakers, which are just atrocious, and they have those leather sneaker boots. They got a lot of what I would say is bullshit, but it seemed to me that like he's trying to, I guess, dabble in various avenues to do better or show they can do something better than other brands or equal to other brands that are considered kind of the top tier stuff. And I'm guessing what he didn't say this, but I think he's going after like and I'm not really in on the fancy dress shoes. I used to kind of look into that stuff years ago before I got really heavy in the boots, when I used to be more of a in the office worker, and going out to our San Francisco office a lot, and basically wearing dress shoes 5 days a week. John Lobb, I think, is a name that comes to mind. I know there's some other stuff. Edward Green, I think they make boots though too. There's these high end, like more expensive than Alden, better refinement, finishing, all over $1,000 type dress shoes. And my guess is, he's trying to show, we can do that better than you guys for a similar price, And that's interesting. I don't know if I admire it, but it's interesting to see there's like a method behind it. And I guess that it made me back off a little bit from my, I guess you could say, kind of hatred of that brand and him and how he does business. But, I'm not going to go as far as saying it's admirable, but it was interesting to hear it. I'll probably put it up during the whole video, but the podcast, if you're interested, he doesn't do, the Stitch Down guy, Ben or whatever, doesn't do videos like, I like how Full Grain Podcast, throw up a little picture of their channel. They do Phil from Ash and Leather, Phil Callis, I think is his last name, and Nick Horween do that Full Grain Podcast. I really like how they do the videos too, because I'm not a big podcast person. I usually only listen to them if I'm out doing yard work, but even then I'm usually doing music, whereas YouTube, I'm on it all the time, obviously. So I prefer to watch it. Plus, sometimes they're showing something while they talk about it. Maybe not so much on the Stitch Down podcast, because it's truly a podcast only, but it was interesting to hear that. So I thought, maybe if someone's interested, check that out. And on that same topic, I listened to another Stitch Down podcast that was with I don't even know the guy's name, some dude with Red Wing, and he was talking about the Heritage line. That's, I think, what he's kind of in charge of, and the shutdowns, and they had shutdowns from COVID. I think maybe he was talking about it, but then he talked about when they had a hack, like a cyber attack, and it kind of like caused everything to kind of shut down completely, and they actually had to break out like the dies and stuff to start cutting leather, like basically all mechanical, hand done stuff versus a CAD laser cutting thing. Like I know they use one apparently, and Truman uses one. More modern solutions. It was kind of interesting hearing that, just to think that, with all the AI and all the, cybernet bullshit going on now, you're at risk, And I think of it with my employer, and they're so focused on, you gotta use AI. It's just the corporate, nonsense we're in these days. But everybody's so, if we don't use AI, we're gonna be left behind, and everybody's so laser focused on just jumping down that bandwagon. And it's like, one, I think it's nonsense, and or could be the downfall of humanity if we're gonna get a little tin hat on us, a little, little Dale what does he always talk about, flat Earth or whatever. But there's risks there for sure. There's a lot of known folks in the kind of that space talking about these risks. But even outside of that, it's like you put all your efforts there, and then somebody hacks it, and you know you're in trouble. Whereas I kind of see what's happened where we're so dependent, at least at my employer, on the technology and automations that we've built in the past decade, that we're at much higher risk if one of these things fails, that we can't actually sustain ourselves after that. Like, we used to have a lot more humans involved in the process, and over time, and things are expensive, but you could get people to get the work done. And with it so much now dependent on these systems, if they go down, there's almost no fallback. We talk about disaster recovery a lot, but it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be sustainable, and we would kind of get buried. And it's interesting to hear about that kind of on the boot side, and kind of the production side. He had a lot of other interesting discussions in that podcast about machines, and they're using some super old heel nailer machine from over 100 years ago or something. And apparently they just have used it the entire time because it works and there's no need to replace it. And it's just wild to think, whatever, Red Wing started, I think, in the 1800s, late 1800s, that they've been using the same machine for over 100 years. It's kind of cool. But yeah, there's some interesting podcasts out there. You may want to take a look at them. And if you are on YouTube specifically like this, definitely, if you're not watching Full Grain, check them out. What else? I don't want to kind of belabor the whole shield tube thing, but I'll touch on it. I got reached out to by one of these companies. I'm not going to bother to throw their name out there, but they do promotions for brands, and they were trying to get me to sign up, and then they'll send me a free product by a brand I actually like. And I've actually done videos on some of their products in the past. It's not boots, but it's just I just feel like it's the shill tube thing. Too many. Everybody wants to call themselves a reviewer, but you're a paid spokesperson for a brand. They send you a free pair of boots, you make a video on them, and then you sell them. And I think a lot of people misunderstand that. They think, when you're giving it a positive review, even if you like the boot and you honestly were saying you liked it, it conveys that you put your money into this product and you're going to wear that product because you like that product. But you just did a review and you sell the boot, and now you've made money, so they paid you. They paid you through a product which you sold and got cash for. So you're paid to make an ad for them, and I just feel like that is shill tube. It's just shilling. Maybe there's levels to that. If you're legit lying, you're saying it's good when you think it's trash, then they're just an extreme. You're a hack, you're a king of shills, like Roseanville or whoever pays you that week is the best, and everybody else is forgotten about. And you don't do reviews if someone doesn't give you a free boot and pay you money, Okay, so that's like extreme. But even if you liked the boot, but you didn't buy it, you were given it, and then you sell it, like, you didn't care about that product. So why would you put a video up about it? It's just nonsense. I don't agree with it. And I know I might piss off some people who I even talk to in the comments who have other channels, but I'm like, I just don't agree with that. Maybe I'm an oddball, but I feel like what I'm doing is honest. Every single thing I've ever put on my channel is a thing that I wanted, and I bought it with my own money. And if I didn't keep it, I ended up doing another video saying why it sucked, like after multiple videos. I'm thinking on those Knicks Overlanders and H&W, the trials and tribulations of having trouble with that last, and then finally, after many, many videos, I said it didn't work out for me, and I sold them, So it's like, what happened. There's not like, oh, he really liked that, because if you watched my first video on it, I was all raving about it, but the following videos that came out over months and over a year show that the progression was not good. Or, a watch that I got, and it was a disaster with the brand, and I posted a video that got over 100,000 views and got the company to reach out to me. It was just, this is my warning to you. I forget what I changed the name of the video when they replaced my watch after, but it's like, this is what can happen. You see all this different space, but with wristwatches, Swiss, wristwatches, that that space. You spend a bunch of money, hard-earned money, and treat yourself finally to I'm going to buy a nice luxury watch, and then the thing's a disaster. Meanwhile, there's a million of these so-called review channels in that space who post all this raving stuff, but they don't actually know the long-term experience because they just reviewed the watch for a week while they were given it. In those cases, they can't sell it; they got to return it because it's a multi-thousand-dollar item. But it's bullshit. It is legit bullshit, and that's why I'm frustrated by people trying to claim that it's not shilling and it's not honest. You were paid by that brand to do you're a mouthpiece for them. Don't try to pretend you're better or higher than that because you're not. You're a mouthpiece. You're an ad, and I refuse to do that. So I told that company, I asked the guy what he even wanted, and then he said why, and that's it. I'm not responding to him anymore. I'm not gonna. If I want another, one of the product of that brand, I don't want to trash the brand. I like that brand, but I'll buy another, item from them with my own money. I've bought some of their stuff and not even done videos on it because I just didn't see the point. But the shilling is what it is frustrating. And the funniest part is I was watching another channel who covered that product, and then I did a search and realized, oh, there's a whole bunch of videos in the last 3 weeks from that brand by different influencers, reviewers, shillers. And I'm like, now I know why. Because this guy's headhunting all these channels who have contact info to get them to sign up to get a free product so they can review it. Yeah, I'm going to end it on that. Happy Friday, guys. Cheers.